Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/PettyRevenge. In today's episode, girl does 0% of the work on a huge project and gets 0% of the credit. I'll only be a minute. Loud girls every morning outside my bedroom. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Girl does 0% of the work on a huge project and gets 0% of the credit. This story takes place my third year of college. I was taking a class where the entire grade was determined by a semester-long final project. We were supposed to be in groups of 3 on the project, but the third guy in our group had more sense than me and bailed early. This left just me and lazy girl, hereafter known as LG. LG didn't do anything the entire semester. I would ask her to work on pieces of the project, but she always had an excuse for why it wasn't done yet, or in her case started. Now, I didn't want any confrontation with this girl, as she was my friend at the time, but I finally lost it one night towards the end of the semester. I'd asked her to meet at my house to work on the project, but something important came up. Fed up with this one-sided partnership, I decided to air my woes at the local bars. And guess who I run into? An LG and her boyfriend drinking. She made up some bullshit excuse and I made a plan. I powered through the entire assignment, except for the conclusion, which I asked LG to finish. I held out exactly zero hope that she would finish this section, so I quickly finished it myself and turned in my project with a little note to the teacher. The note detailed how I had done literally everything for the project and that despite my best efforts, I could not get LG to contribute. I said that I was turning in my version and that our conclusion section may differ, as I'd asked her to actually do that part herself. So here's a little tidbit about our final projects. We each had to turn one in. LG here not only didn't do the conclusion, she didn't turn in a project at all. She tried calling and **shing at me for not giving her credit, to which I went off on her for not doing shit on the entire project. I mentioned how I even gave her the opportunity to turn in my work for a grade if she'd only do one thing. She hung up after that, and that was the last time we spoke. I've posted this once before. My friend is a history teacher and all his grades are group projects. It makes it very easy to get a good grade in his class. First time assigning groups is pretty random. He finds out real quick who are the workers and who are slackers. Each group project after that he reassigns the workers together and slackers together. By the last project the worst are together and the best are together. He says it always makes for a good time at the end of the semester. That is a great system. Your friend must have good stories as a result of that system. She reaped what she sowed. Which is to say absolutely nothing. I'm so confused on her logic. Even if she did do something, you stated you had to turn in your projects individually still. She apparently didn't, and still expected credit. Worst are the group projects where the mark is divided up by group consensus, and an outcast is thrown in a group with a few members of a clique. Clique members are lazy, do nothing, outcast carries while project. Student reports come in, clique members divide credit roughly equally among themselves, say outcast did nothing. Outcast reports true work levels. Multiple reports consistent with each other conflict with one report? Clearly they're telling the truth and the outlier is lying. Clique members get good grades, outcast fails and is disciplined for lying. That was very magnanimous of you to give her one last chance to do just the smallest amount of effort. And good for you for not letting her get away with doing nothing. This reminds me that in high school I'd type the group members' names in a font size proportional to their amount of effort on the project to give the teacher a little hint. I'll only be a minute. I pulled into the local Wawa because I had a tire that needed air. As I was driving up to the air pump, a woman was backing into the bay. Figuring I would have to wait until she finished putting air into her tires, I put the car into park. But instead of filling her tires, she got out and walked toward the store. I politely pointed out that her parking spot was for the air pump. In a very snotty voice she said, "I'll only be a minute." So I backed my car up so that my rear bumper was a few inches from the front of her car, essentially making it impossible for her to pull out until I moved my car away. Then I got the air hose and moved to one of my tires, but waiting until she was out of the store and headed to her car before I started putting air into my tire. "Excuse me. You're blocking me in," was shouted at me. I smiled and said, "I'll only be a minute." It took me almost 5 minutes to check the air pressure, give it a puff of air, check the pressure again, etc. And all 4 wheels needed attention. I could see her in her car on her cell phone, and hear her complaining the whole time. When I finished, she started up her car as I was putting the air hose back. Then I realized I needed coffee. As I was walking away, she screamed at me to move my car. I just smiled and said, "I'll only be a minute." You are my kind of people. The old Uno reverse play. Nicely done, sir. Nicely done, indeed. Perfect karma / small revenge. I'm sure that after her anger subsided, she will think twice about blocking others. Loud girls every morning outside my bedroom. I used to live on the second floor of a fourplex directly across the street from the beach in Florida. For context, the building looked like an office building due to the fact that the 2 units downstairs were exactly that, large sign out front advertising a small call center and a property management company. There was a huge condo being built across the street directly on the beach. During this time, every morning, 3 girls would sit on the curb early in the morning, waiting for work, just outside my bedroom window, facing the beach, chattering and laughing loudly. I asked them politely one morning to please either relocate or try not to be so loud. They were Spanish and I don't speak Spanish very well, so I even went out of my way to ask a friend as to the best way to convey this message in their native tongue. Naturally, my attempt to defuse the situation was thwarted. Here's the fun part. We had an automatic sprinkler system, and as it just so happened, I had previously temporarily worked as an automatic sprinkler system installer, ditch digger. I pointed every sprinkler head possible to the location of their morning powwows and altered the sprinkler timer to go off at exactly when they would be sitting on the curb. The next morning was music to my ears as I heard them screaming profanities as they ran off. PettyRevenge best served moist and sprinkled. I used to have this same issue in New Orleans. The bus stop was across the street, but my house provided shade in the morning. This group of loudest people would stand under my second-story bedroom window at 6 a.m. and scream laugh for 30 to 45 minutes every morning. Eventually, after asking nicely for them to stop a few times, I invested in a large box of those little glass-encased stink bombs. When it would start up, I'd go to the bathroom window and poke a few of those stink bombs over the edge. You could hear them asking if anyone else smelled doo-doo. Eventually they ended up staying at the bus stop. Subtle revenge that can't be traced back to you is always the most satisfying. Wow, that's quite the creative solution. It's important to find peaceful ways to address disturbances without resorting to confrontation. Hopefully, they got the hint and found another spot for their morning chats. Living near the beach must have been such an experience, especially with all the interesting characters around. Florida, I'm surprised they didn't get shot or arrested. A bit of water never hurt anyone, a video of this would have been internet gold. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.